Alright, what's goody, YouTube? It's your boy Drizzy here, and as you can see, we're gonna be talking about some Gen 9 stuff, some Pokemon Scarlet and Violet stuff. And I want to preface this by saying, yes, I know there's a Google spreadsheet with the entire regional dex because there was a ROM hack and stuff like that that got access to the game. However, due to Nintendo having very strict copyright rules, I will not be uploading any videos talking about it or any pictures like that. However, on either Thursday or Friday, when the game actually fully releases, I will be releasing a video of me and the boys' reactions to that regional dex, because we went through and looked at all of the new Pokemon for that regional dex in between our Overwatch queues. So I will be uploading that video when the game officially comes out. That way I do not get any copyright issues at all. I just don't even want to try to deal with the copyright issues, so we're just going to avoid them. But with that being said, there are a couple things I need to mention that have dropped since my last Pokemon news or Pokemon worries video. One being the Terrasilize mechanic has fully been released. The Terrasilizing mechanic seemed like it was going to be very interesting, with the whole fact that you could choose whether or not you want to Terrasilize into a type of your same type, or if you want to Terrasilize into a type that you don't have. Now, from the leaked data sources that we have, if you transform into a type that you already have, you get an additional 0.5 to your stab bonuses. For example, I'm going to use the example that is on that data sheet. I will probably leave a link to it in the comment section below, because I would imagine a lot of my stuff is going to come from here. Say for example, Charizard, if he changes it into a flying type, if he uses his Terra Crystal to change it to a flying type, he gets a 2x stab bonus on flying, and he keeps his 1.5 on fire. A lot of people thought that you weren't gonna keep the 1.5. However, you are keeping the 1.5. Thus, that's gonna make for some really interesting things to deal with competitive battling. Now, the next thing worth noting is if you change the type, you get an additional 1.5 stat benefit to that additional type. For example, with Charizard changing into a water type, he gets 1.5 on water, fire, and flying. So essentially gives him 3 stabs, which is quite interesting, because I know that a lot of Pokemon in competitive battling don't even really have, some of them have 3 attacking moves if they're your sweeper. So it seems like Terra Crystals are really going to be saved for more sweepers with bad typings. For example, anything that has an ice type, or anything along those lines. Like for example, Weavile. If you were to make Weavile mono dark, or give him a type that is resistant to fighting, he can get an additional turn that he wouldn't normally get based on him trying to take a move if he doesn't OHKO it. Stuff like that. It's going to add for some interesting things. Now, the reason why I said changing his typing to something resistant is, if you don't know, if you change the type, for example, Charizard changing to water, it makes it a pure of that type. So for example, it would make him a pure water type, making him weak to electric, grass, and resist fire, and things like that. So that adds some interesting play, especially with something like Charizard, who has a quad weakness. You can literally get rid of that quad weakness even by just changing into a type that it already has, giving it a 2x stab buff. I think that quad weaknesses aren't going to be not nearly, or I should say, let me reword that, slow quad weaknesses aren't really going to be too impactful anymore. The reason why I say that is because if, say for example, Charizard has the ability to Terrasilize into a different type, you can't really hit it with a quad weakness. And plus, if you do Terra type, you get rid of your second typing anyway, but you keep the stab. So a lot of quad weakness Pokemon are going to be really, really good and competitive. Now, the next thing worth mentioning that I'm gonna mention in this video is basically all of the Pokemon that have been released in this tier, ones that I think that are worth really noting on. I just want to state this: I was exactly 100% right when I said Scarlet or Sprigato's final evolution was going to be a masquerade wearing fur-bait Pokemon. I was 110% right. I knew it. However, I did expect it was probably going to be Grass Fairy. However, he's Grass Dark with his hidden ability being Protean, which I think is kind of interesting. Keeps up with the trend of one of the starters having a Protean-esque ability. And then we have Skeledredge, the fire ghost type, which is Fuecoco's final evolution. And then we have, I'm not even going to try to say it, but we have the Zesty Josuke bird for Quaxly's final evolution. I've been seeing a lot of hate for the three of these. Personally speaking, I absolutely love all three of the starters. I think all three of them, their designs look really, really good. I think, in my opinion, the weakest design out of all of them, in my opinion, is Sprigato's. However, Sprigato has the coolest second stage out of all of starters in general. Like, I usually dislike second stage Pokemon because they look weird, but his second stage is really clean. However, I understand, I can understand the hate a little bit. While I personally love all three of the starters, I get it, because Sprigato's almost doesn't feel startery to me, and then Fuecoco's doesn't feel like that was the route they were going with the entire time. It looked like they were going bipedal, and then all of a sudden he went quadruped. So it's like it doesn't make any sense. However, it looks sick. But if you really think about it, it does make sense, because that sombrero that the middle stage is wearing, it's not actually a sombrero, that's a bird egg. So when it evolves into a crocodile with a bird on its nose, it makes perfect sense because the egg hatched. Now, Quaxly, I'm a little lost where they got the final stage from, but I don't hate it because I think the final stage looks really, really cool. Now, next up, we have Lechonk and Oink Cologne. I don't really know the other word for that. The male and female forms look pretty cool, but I don't like it because it makes me uncomfortable. It really does. I don't know how to explain it. It makes me really, really uncomfortable. I don't like looking at it. Kind of freaks me out a little bit. And then Dunsparce got an evolution, which it definitely needed. Hopefully they keep this evolution. I don't think they'll get rid of it because it doesn't look like it's going to be it doesn't look like it's a regional variant or anything like that. From what I can see, it doesn't look like a regional variant. So hopefully they keep this. I don't like the Tarantula Pokemon because I don't like tarantulas, and Spidops looks like the practice range robots in Overwatch. However, the Pokemon I am looking forward to maybe trying is Lokix. I think it's okay. It's not great. It's good for a regional bug. I think its design looks really, really cool, and its typing is also really, really good, really, really cool, being bug dark. And it's, at least the picture design we have over here looks really, really cool. So I might try it at some point. I'm not going to use the Dung Beetle Pokemon, Raylor and Rabasca. I'm not going to use them. I'm good. But I may use the Graveyard Dog. I do like the Graveyard Dog a little bit. But the thing I want to note on is I don't really think any of these Pokemon are necessarily really gonna be insanely good for competitive, with the exception of Finizen, Palafin Hero, or Palafin, sorry. Finizen is the Dolphin Pokemon, Palafin is its evolved form, and then Palafin Hero is using its ability. And the reason why I think it's going to be busted is because it has 160 attack, 100 HP, 97 defense, 106 special. Is that special attack or special defense? I think it's special attack. which that's a little lame. Yeah, it is special attack. And then it also has like 100 base speed. So it's not like the greatest, but it also has 650 base stats in hero form. And the way you transform it into hero form is by swapping it out. So what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a Palafin meta where Palafin is the lead and he swaps out into whatever Pokemon it needs to swap out into to counteract whatever Pokemon is out, thus initiating his 0 to hero, because once he swaps back in, he's going to swap in as Palafin hero form and he's going to have all that nasty base stats. And who I think he might be swapping into, I'm not certain, but I could see a plethora of Pokemon, especially if someone tries to counter lead. If someone tries to counter lead with like an electric type or something like Bellibolt, you could swap into your own Bellibolt, electromorphosis, their electric attack. You see what I'm saying? There's gonna be some interesting play here. Let me see. Is there any other Pokemon worth noting on? I do not like the quote-unquote pseudo-legendary because I'm pretty certain that Baxcalibur, the Godzilla-looking Pokemon, the Dragon Ice type, is the box legendary. I don't really like it at all, actually. I'm gonna be honest. It looks a little too bland, but that's just me. The Grass Ghost Tumbleweed Pokemon looks really cool. There's a lot of ghost types in this gen, so I have a feeling we're gonna have like a whole ass like ghost area possibly. Another Pokemon I'm looking forward to trying is a Gimminghoul. I think that's the name, the ghost type that evolves into that has two forms. One's a test form, one's a roaming form. I'm really looking forward to trying its final evolution because it looks really good, and very interesting. And then the next thing I want to note on that's worth noting on when it comes to Pokemon is paradox forms. There are a couple of regional variants, but I didn't see very many. I think I've seen like Cooper, Tauros, and stuff like that. But I want to talk about the regional variants. The reason why regional variants, Paradox Pokemon. The reason why I want to talk about Paradox Pokemon is because of the same reason why I wanted to talk about Paradox Pokemon in the last video we talked about. Is I was a little bit worried that because one was going into the past and one was going into the future, that they weren't going to add the Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokemon. However, they have confirmed that Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokemon, including Arceus, will be movable via Pokemon Home. So that clears that worry up for me, meaning that I can actually go and get more shinies in that game and bring them, or I can bring my Arceus and stuff like that. So it's probably, I think it's the first gen that you can actually have legitimate Arceus without hacking, with the exception of I think 6 and 7 possibly. I know you couldn't get one in 8. I'm not too certain on 6, but I think you could get one in 7, maybe. I'm not too certain on that one, but it'll be the first chance that I possibly could have got. But with that worry out of the way, we have the Paradox Pokemon. Now, Pokemon Scarlet is going to the past, Pokemon Violet is going to the future. And I've been seeing a lot of people saying that after the Paradox leaks, that Scarlet is the better option, where I don't really think that. I think that either of the two games are really good. I just think the problem with Paradox future Pokemon is it's hard to make them not Steel type. So that's just gonna be something we're gonna have to deal with. But in my opinion, while I do love dinosaurs, I do love futuristic Pokemon. So I think it's gonna be fine, especially Iron Valiant. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looks like a mix between Gardevoir and Gallade, and it looks really cool. Now I will say Great Tusk, Dawn fans, past one looks impeccably good for a Dawn fan evolution. And that's another thing I want to talk about. I can't really tell whether or not these are full-on evolutions or just weird versions of like almost mega evolutions. And the reason why I say that is because I just don't get it right now. Because I guess, to be fair, we don't know if they are evolutions or not because we can't play the game. But it's kind of like bugging me, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, how does Donphan go into Great Tusk? Does it evolve into Great Tusk? And the reason why I'm asking that question again is because its name is Great Tusk. Unless that's just the name, the placeholder name, it doesn't make any sense. Why would it be an evolution? That sounds more like a gimmick to me. It sounds more like a mega evolution type thing, or like a title almost. It doesn't seem like a full-on evolution, because like in evolution, you know, the name changes, the type might change, things like that. But these are odd to me, unless it's like a Phanpy in Scarlet doesn't evolve into Donphan, evolves directly into Great Tusk. But then again, Magnezone is in the National Dex, and Magneton has a Paradox. So I'm thinking it's definitely gotta be an evolution. However, I just don't know. Pokemon worth noting that have Paradox Pokemon are Donphan, Amoonguss, Suicune and Virizion, Magneton, Jigglypuff, Misdreavus, Volcarona, Salamence, Hariyama only has a future version, if I'm not mistaken. Hydreigon, Tyranitar, Delibird, obviously Gardevoir and Gallade. Those are the regional variants that we have access to right now. And I don't know how to feel about them. I think that it's all in all going to be very beneficial, and it's going to look really, really good, and all this and that. However, I need to see them in action, if that makes any sense. So, next up, we have the quartet of Mythicals. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to say them wrong. But they're the dark type trio, or quartet, I guess you would call them. With there's a deer that is dark ground. There is a saber that looks really, really cool, that's dark ice. There is a slug that is dark grass, and there is a goldfish that is dark fire. I think out of all of them, the goldfish and the deer are lame. Not gonna lie. The slug looks pretty cool, and the saber is easily hard carrying this entire group. But that is just me. I want to see how they play into the story, if they even play into the story at all. But let us go further on. There's not much worth mentioning with those. Koraidon and Miraidon, the two legendaries. Honestly speaking, I think they're both going to be really, really fine. I don't think they're going to be better than last gen's legendaries, but last gen's legendaries were like literally busted, so I don't know how you could possibly be better than last gen's, but we'll have to see. And then the rest of the Pokemon that I have on this list are regional variants, and also Pokemon that get evolutions in this region. So we have Tinkatink, Tinkatuff, and Tinkaton. Berry Steel type, which I'm gonna be honest with you, if it had better stats, I feel like it would literally be broken, but its stats are not very good. So I don't know how it's gonna work in competitive. I feel like someone's gonna at least try it. However, one fire type, and that thing is useless. Next up, we have the hard carries of this generation, in my opinion. Charcadet, Armarouge, and Ceruledge. I think both of them look impeccably good. Ceruledge just has a tiny weak little edge over the Fire Ghost type. I think it looks amazing, man. It does. It looks so freaking cool. It just looks so freaking cool. I don't know what else to tell you. Next up, we have Tentacool and Tentacruel and Toadscool and Toadscruel. They literally have counter types, being Tentacool is water poison, Toadscool is grass ground. I think it looks adorable, but it also looks like a mushroom to me in my head, but that's just me. And next up, we have Bisharp getting an evolution into King Gambit. And I'm gonna be honest, looks like something straight out of Persona. I don't know how to feel about it yet. I need to see it in action, but it's got a really cool ability name known as Supreme Overlord, which boosts its power for the number of teammates you've let die, meaning that if you ran it on a team with Palafin, which is probably going to be my playthrough team if Bisharp's catchable pretty early, where if you end up having Pokemon die, like if you're in like a really tough battle or whatever, and you end up having Pokemon die, right? This dude's going to come in and be diffing everyone. So it might actually be beneficial to just leave him in the back. Let your whole team fight it out with basically fight a... My camera just unfocused? Fight a 5v6, right? And as soon as, you know, your other 5 Pokemon die, send in King Gambit and sweep, because he's already really, really strong. But to be fair, Bisharp was already really, really strong. He just added more bulk and took a little bit of speed away. And that's fine because Bisharp really didn't utilize his speed anyway. But next up we have Wooper and Quagsire, and then Wooper and Clodsire, the poison ground types. I think Clodsire is adorable, but that's just me. And I feel like Quagsire is what Quagsire should have looked like, in my opinion. I think it should have been by quadruped, but that's just me. Then we have Primeape and Annihilate. I have a theory with Annihilate. If you guys don't know, Primeape in his Pokedex entry is said to fight until it dies, and Annihilate being fighting Ghost just kind of shows that. I think that a Primeape is going to have to use something crazy where it like takes damage or something like that. I'm not certain. You know they like to do weird evolutions. And then we have Tauros and Paladinian Tauros, which Paladinian Tauros is fighting type, but also it can be a fighting fire type or a fighting water type, and I don't know how that happens, but we'll have to figure it out when the game drops. With that being said, that's all the Pokemon. That's all that's terrestrializing. That's all of that. I might cut this video up into 2 points just because it's a little bit long, but I might just upload it. We'll see. But I'm definitely a little bit excited, and I don't normally get excited when it comes to Pokemon games. It's been a very, very long time since the last time I've ever really been excited when it comes to a Pokemon game, but I am specifically for this one. But with that being said, boys, that is all the Pokemon news that I forgot to touch upon. If there's anything else, I will make a separate video talking about it. For example, I'm probably going to make a separate video talking about maybe terrestrializing or even the starters. With that being said, I'm out. Peace out!